You tell me if I'm right or wrong. And remember, this is wrestling. Nobody is wrong. Everybody has an opinion. So here's my question. Who killed WCW? Was it Eric Bischoff? Was it Vince McMahon? Was it the wrestlers? Was it the executives sitting in the office? Or was it a combination of everybody involved? Let's go back in time. Before Eric Bischoff became the man running WCW, the company was struggling badly. And when I say struggling, I mean really struggling. WCW was owned by media giant Ted Turner, but despite having a billionaire owner behind them, they looked like a company that couldn't get out of their own way. Money was being lost. Creative direction changed every few months. Executives came and went. Jim Herd, Kip Allen Fry, Bill Watts. Everybody seemed to have a different vision. Nobody seemed to have a long-term plan. Meanwhile, Vince McMahon was running WWE with one clear direction. Now don't get me wrong, WWE wasn't exactly flying high either, especially around 1995. Business was down. The new generation era was struggling. Some crowds were smaller than WWE wanted. But Vince still had something WCW lacked: structure. WCW felt chaotic. WWE felt organized. And that difference would become important later. Now let's talk about one of WCW's biggest mistakes. Future legends walked through that company and never received the opportunities they deserved. Steve Austin, Mick Foley, even Vader eventually left. Imagine that. Stone Cold Steve Austin would later become the biggest star in wrestling history. Mick Foley would become one of the most beloved wrestlers ever, and WCW couldn't see the future standing right in front of them. Instead, the company relied heavily on older stars: Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Ric Flair, the established names. Great legends, yes, but the future wasn't always being built. Then came Eric Bischoff, February 11th, 1993, the day everything changed. Eric wasn't a wrestler. He wasn't a legendary booker. He wasn't somebody fans expected to save WCW. But what Eric had was vision. And more importantly, he had Ted Turner's support. That support changed everything. While executives above him questioned ideas, Ted Turner believed in WCW. And because Turner believed, Eric was allowed to take risks. Big risks. Massive risks. Risks that nobody else in wrestling would have dared take. By 1994, Eric had full control. And then the game changed forever. Eric signed Hulk Hogan, then Randy Savage. Then he launched Monday Nitro. And then he started a war. The Monday Night Wars. WCW versus WWE. Eric wasn't happy being number 2 anymore. He wanted Vince McMahon's throne. And for a while, it looked like he was going to take it. For 83 straight weeks, WCW beat WWE in the ratings. 83 weeks. Think about that. For nearly 2 years, Vince McMahon had to sit there every Monday night watching Eric Bischoff beat him. WCW became cool. The cruiserweights were exciting. Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, Dean Malenko. The NWO arrived. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. Then Hulk Hogan shocked the world and turned heel. Wrestling changed overnight. Fans couldn't stop talking about WCW. Suddenly, WWF looked old. Suddenly, WCW looked revolutionary. And honestly, there were moments where it felt like Vince McMahon was finished, like WCW had won. But here's where things get interesting. Kevin Nash once told Eric Bischoff that Vince McMahon wasn't going away, and he was right. Because while WCW was winning the battle, Vince was preparing for the war. Behind the scenes, Vince had structure. He had people around him pulling in the same direction. Meanwhile, WCW became increasingly chaotic. Creative control clauses, power struggles, office politics, wrestlers influencing storylines, too many people wanting power, too many people protecting themselves. And eventually, the NWO became too big. Storylines became confusing. The company started spending huge amounts of money. And while WCW was losing millions, WWE was finding itself again. Then came Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, D-Generation X, the Attitude Era. Suddenly, WWE became cool again. By the late 1990s, the momentum had shifted, and Vince McMahon never looked back. By 2001, WCW was sold. The war was over. Vince McMahon stood victorious. Eric Bischoff lost. Ted Turner's company was gone. So who killed WCW? Was it Eric Bischoff? The Office? The wrestlers? The executives who didn't support Eric? The contracts? The politics? The spending? Or was Vince McMahon simply too stubborn to lose? That's why I love wrestling history, because there isn't one answer. And honestly, I don't think one person killed WCW. I think WCW died from 1,000 mistakes while Vince McMahon was building 1,000 solutions. But that's just my opinion. Tell me yours. Who killed WCW?